Let's do this. Let's have some fun here. Triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Battle for freedom. Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo5 Radio, and I appreciate every last one of you as we have another episode of Battle for Freedom. So, yes, if you want to interact, you can go to facebook.com/Mojo, not Mojo5 Radio. I'm coming to you from Mojo5 Radio, Battle for Freedom. But if you want to interact, you can go to facebook.com/Battle for Freedom. I see Brandon, I see Heidi. Appreciate you guys interacting. If you want to learn more about the different shows that are available to you on this network, go to mojo50.com/schedule. Great shows, great talent, amazing talent on this amazing network, and just take the time off as a nation mourns for 10 days. In this time of mourning for a nation, and I think we as a world needs to pause and try and recognize a few different things that have taken place within the last 24 hours. Yes, Brandon, rest in peace, Queen. Rest in peace. I don't think we fully understand the significance of what's transpired yesterday, and at the loss of the Queen. I know a lot of people have hatred. I know a lot of people, they struggle to rise to the occasion to be humane or human in the midst of all this. But I found some really interesting stuff here, and I kind of want to share some of that with you as we go through this. This was very powerful of what took place yesterday, and the responses have been something actually heartbreaking. To see what people would say with respect to this. Hey, Lisa, thank you for joining and being part of the program. Really appreciate you doing this as well. You know, before we get into the broadcast, I got to make certain that I cover to you one of the important things that you're going to do in your life. In you know, as we sit here considering the Queen, now people may be enjoying their tea and crumpets, and tea and crumpets is a great thing. My kids love crumpets, maybe not so much the tea, but they do love crumpets. I think I may, in honor of the Queen, may go to Trader Joe's and get some crumpets and have those break my fast and actually do that today. But if you're not a tea kind of person, but you want to try crumpets, may I dare encourage you to have your crumpets with American Pride Roasters coffee. American Pride Roasters coffee is historically great coffee and the official coffee of Mojo5 Radio. You can't go wrong having American Pride Roasters coffee. Mine awaits me. I hear the calling. I hear the heralding. Watson, where art thou? No, I'm not going to be speaking in King James, nor I will be speaking in Shakespearean as we put ourselves in a mode of respect and reflection. I just learned actually earlier today from Yug, he'll be giving the eulogy at a great man, Walt Willett. He was one of the professors at the Bible college I attended. Very humble spirit, very powerful spirit. Wow. I mean, if you wanted to see a stately gentleman, it was Walt Willett, a stately man. He had the look of a president. This guy had the look, a very unimposing figure, but he was a great man indeed. And my good friend and brother in Christ, Yug, will be giving the eulogy today. And so I sit here, and it's very interesting to see a monarch pass away, a physical monarch. We in our lives, many of us alive today, will behold probably one of the most amazing things in the world, because not many of us may be old enough to recognize or even recall the coronation that took place 70 plus years ago when Queen Elizabeth was made Queen of England. Her coronation. Probably many of us weren't alive to that day. And many of us, a select few in this world will be able to enjoy and sit back and say, I saw that moment. And now, twice in my life, I may see yet another coronation. Well, I know as my brother Yug shares with the brothers and sisters in Christ in during the eulogy, a brother has been coronated as he stands in the presence of God, and we just thank God for Walt and what he has done in the lives that he's impacted. I think it's I think the point about death is that we sometimes have to allow God to awaken us and find the humanity in who we are, to get beyond our politics, get beyond our partisanship, and so much more, and remember that we are human. That we are human. You know, it's really sad to see some of the topics and some of the comments that are out there. Tucker Carlson actually does a great breakdown. I was listening to him last night as I was driving home from an event, and it was just really sad to see the responses that are out there right now. I was just really sad to see the responses that are out there and how people are so quick to go out of their way to just be vile in the midst of this. Drinking American Pride Roasters coffee won't make you vile. And if you're so triggered right now at the death of the Queen, or the death of anyone who you may consider your enemy, because I really believe that I'm not a big card game per player. My buddy Jude and his family, they took me in to when I used to play cards with them, and I remember I was horrible in playing cards. Oh, I was horrible. I was just not skilled at it, and I would lose every time. But I was like, you know, we are so concerned about what this world is going to look like. And I do have my concerns. I'm not going to lie to you. I have my concerns about Charles. I have my concerns about, you know, he is very pro-cabal, very pro-climate change, very pro a lot of stuff that honestly, it scares the mind. It scares the mind to consider what he's going to be doing. What could we see some form of tyranny over the next, I don't know how long? I do have my concerns about that. You know, the statements about the Antichrist and so much more. There is a reason to be concerned. There is a reason to shudder at the idea of what would take place. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can get this thing from Tucker to show up, and then go back and we'll go through all that. So being triggered, let's consider not American Pride Roasters Coffee, but New Life Holistic with Anthony Malchiotti. I think a lot of people are triggered because if the very first response that they want to do is get out into vile and utter wickedness, that's pretty sad. That's pretty pathetic. If your life is so triggered that all you've got to do is lash out, that's the first thing you want to do, then I would dare say that there's something really wrong with you. If your immediate response is that you want to lash out, that you want to hit below the belt, you want to start saying all these negative things, you may need to speak to Anthony Malchiotti and New Life Holistic and get some biofeedback therapy. Get some tuning. Get your life retuned, your mind, your heart, your soul, your spirit. I mean, that starts off with a relationship with God through what Jesus Christ provided. But, oh my goodness, the level of just malevolence and wickedness and spitefulness that there are in people. Why must we resort to the least common denominator of behavior at the lowest point in people's lives? We celebrate when people fail, and it's just not cool. It's not good. And I'm praying that all of us, we can have a better response than what we've seen people do, because what's happening here, this is not good at all. The response that are happening with people right now, it's not a good thing, and I'm praying that we could change our disposition. I'm connecting here. I'm going to bring in this audio from Tucker Carlson. We'll spend some time talking about that. Hey, Curtis. Hey, Carrie. I appreciate y'all being part of the program, because this is pretty sad to see exactly where we are. So I'm going to play something here from Tucker, and let's go from there.
Tucker Carlson, tonight Queen Elizabeth II died today in Scotland, as you likely know, at the age of 96. She was the longest-serving monarch in British history. She was born in one world and died in another. It's not easy to maintain your dignity while living in the public eye. Most of us could not pull it off for an afternoon. Queen Elizabeth did it for more than 70 years. I want to ask you all, she wrote shortly before her coronation in 1953, whatever your religion may be, to pray for me on that day, to pray that God may give me wisdom and strength to carry out the solemn promises I shall be making, and that I may faithfully serve him and you all the days of my life.
Yeah, now, I want to stop for a second there. See, I think that we become so partisan that there's nothing that we can accept from other people. See, hate England all you want. Hate the Queen. Be pro Meghan and Harry. But there's something unique about that opening speech. She says, I don't care what your religion is. Pray for me. Pray for me that I may do this the right way. You have to understand that this is what, 5 to 10 years after the world is introduced to the atomic age. We've just finished up World War II and so much more, that we now have the baby boom because of the fact that people are fearful of their lives and so much more. She walks into a point in history in time that we've just finished a second world war. Humanity now at their fingertip has the capability to not just wipe out towns, wipe out cities. And not just wipe out cities, but affect countries for a long time. See, right now we keep thinking, well, I don't have my finger on the red button. I can't do a Nagasaki. I can't do a Hiroshima. With weapons of war and mass destruction, but we don't realize that our mouths are weapons of war and mass destruction. Our hearts are vile nuclear reactors waiting to explode. They've been seeping, they've been leaking, and not contained, but seeping through our body like a cancer. The vileness, we call it sin. This depravity that's in us, that even as much as I don't like Biden and a lot of the poor decisions that he is making, I will not celebrate at his death. I will not celebrate at the death of Obama. I will not celebrate at the death of my perceived enemies. Can we not rise above partisanship for half a day? For even a week? See, right now, again, I'm not a card player, but we know that a royal flush is the highest hand that you can have. Mel Gibson in that movie, what was it, Maverick? With James Garner, I believe it was. To reveal that ace of spades at the very end of the game. To know that it's the highest hand in the game. But right now, we have people in the midst of this are playing a high card. One card, and they really think that this is the best that they have to offer. Standing against a royal flush, standing against a pair, 3 of a kind, a straight or whatever, it's nothing. High card means absolutely nothing. And what I see in the vileness and the idiocy of people right now taking pot jabs at the Queen and England is nothing but a lot of high card. You're playing I declare war, and I'm rolling in high with a royal flush. It's pretty much your highest hand. Yeah, you can have a straight, you can even have a flush, but if you have a royal flush, oh, that's something different. And I believe that Queen Elizabeth was a royal flush. Just like Willett was a royal flush, Queen Elizabeth was a royal flush. And I sit here and I'm like, Is this all you have? I mean, right now on display is a lot of high card poker. And people really think that they're going to win. Postulating, do all this other different things. Do I like a lot of the policies that came out of England? Remember, it wasn't just the Queen's decision. Parliament had to make the decisions. Parliament had to make because they were more figureheads. They didn't have all the full power to do what we believe that kings and queens could do, but they did have influence. And we will see what Charles will do now that he is king. The Prince of Wales is now the King of England. And Camilla is the Queen Consort. Pray for them. Pray for them. Just like we should be praying for Biden. Just like we should be praying for Trump. Just like we should be praying for Obama, for Bush, for every last one of them. Our leaders, the Word of God says pray for your leaders. Pray that the hand of God that had shown mercy and grace to us would touch the hearts of these individuals, these people in positions of power and influence. Are we not praying? Why is it that our first reaction is to go to the vile? Why is our first action to go to the lowest common denominator? Do we recognize? I'm moved. I'm moved by her opening speech. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what you ascribe. She says, I don't care what your religion is. So you know who's encompassed in that? Not just Christians, not just Muslims, Sikhs, Hindus, Buddhists, Shintoists, atheists, Wiccans, witches, voodoo doctors. I don't care who you are. She says, pray for me. She solicited the help of, I don't know what, 2 billion people? 2 billion people? Whatever the world's population was at that time. She said, she reached out with all humility, pray for me. We need leaders like that right now. All the hell that she went through in the past couple of years with Harry and Meghan, and actually, it's properly stated in the tabloids, Meghan and Harry, because Harry's not leading, Harry's following, and a good wife does encourage and lead her husband to be the leader that God's called him to be. Philip passed away last year, and now Elizabeth joins him. But she endured a lot of nonsense. The royals' business was just utterly annoying to watch. We watched spoiled childishness going on right in front of our eyes. What Charles may do, the power's in his hands now. He can change the course of everything, exclude Harry and Meghan, set it up that William, when he steps into the place. I mean, what if we were to watch Charles take the throne and then turn around and basically say, in 1 week, I'm 70 years old. I'm tired of this. I want to enjoy my life with my wife. William, please rise to the occasion. We could be watching this in our lifetime. We could be watching not just one coronation, but two. And the people who are still alive today that witnessed that amazing moment of the first coronation in live, in Technicolor, they were there and they watched it. We literally could be watching this right in front of our eyes. Hey, Tricia, thank you for joining. I like that. Carrie says she had the same issues in her family like the rest of the world. And she says people need to take a look in the mirror. Hey, men, because you look in the mirror and look down at your hand, you just got high card, and everybody else is dealing with pairs, straights, flushes, and more. And you threw all in. You threw all in with your pettiness and your foolishness. You threw all in and are Queen Elizabeth is probably one of the last visages of a respectable way, of a lot of meekness, she took a lot of nonsense. I think there's a lot that we could learn from Queen Elizabeth. I think there's a whole lot. She served for 70 years, a full generation and more, a generation and more. She watched the birth of her sons and daughters. Pray for them. She watched the birth of her grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren and great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, if there any be. This is phenomenal. This is amazing. We are sitting at the precipice of watching probably one of the most amazing exchanges that's going to happen in life. I know everybody says they're all just figureheads, but I think that God is allowing us to see this right now because it's going to be very similar to the transition of what takes place when we close our eyes on this side. There will be a great celebration, just as there will be a celebration for Walt Willett, led by my brother Yug. There's a great celebration in heaven if Queen Elizabeth truly was a follower of Christ, a servant of the Most High, that the stateliness was also in her spiritual nature and disposition, that she was a follower and she submitted herself to God to honor him in all things. She stands before the true King, the only King of glory. I pray that we sit here and that we would even pray for that outcome for if we wish equity, if we wish equality, if we wish equal outcome, may our prayers be that all would know God, not in a fanciful universal doctrine of hell, but that we rise out of our muck and mire and we proclaim the truth, the holiness of God, the grace and mercy of God by offering Christ in our stead, that more may know the glory that awaits them because of what Jesus has done on the cross. Instead of celebrating their fall, instead of celebrating their demise, may we rise out of the filth of the worst common denominator of who we can be. Hey, Jamie, thank you for being part of the program. Half of Ain't You a Peach available to you on the weekends. Last week we talked about a time of Sabbath as we go into this weekend. I'm really serious to see the responses of some people with the death of the Queen. I think some people really need to take a day away from society, shut off social media, shut off everything, and just hear God, because there's some vileness in your heart. So wicked, you stand proud, feeling good about yourself, that you can tell off someone who's dead, to wish ill will upon those who are mourning right now. And I dare say that callousness of heart, your conscience is seared. What any vestiges of goodness that you believe are there are smaller than even the coronavirus. There is little evidence that there is a presence of goodness and decency. And the word of God says we're all sinners. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. And I'm telling you, many of you are shining that falling short card like there's no tomorrow. Rise out of the ashes. Rise out of the pit. Stop being a steward of the sinfulness of humanity and the foolishness of Satan. Rise out of the occasion. Are we praying? Daily Mail offers you an opportunity to contribute something nice that you can say. Please, rise out of the foolishness. Please. Let's go to a break. Talk to you on the flip side. In John 14:6, Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Now, a lot of Christians are going to, or quote-unquote Christians, are going to tell you that there are many ways to heaven. Sorry. The only means of getting to heaven is through God's grace, or by God's grace. There's nothing we can do. There are no good works that we can accomplish. There are no great deeds that we can do, because the moment that we say that we can do something good to get ourselves into heaven or just be good people, into getting into God's heaven, where Jesus is the requirement, God's grace is the requirement, you are destined for hell. I'm sorry, there's just no other way to say it. Please, stop following the lies from the people in the world who have nothing to gain except your eternal damnation and misery. Hear the truth. The only means to heaven is through Jesus Christ. No other way. Accept him, please, before it's too late. Thank you. Are you tired of living from paycheck to paycheck? Are there more days at the end of the week and the end of the month than there's money in your bank account? Have you heard of a budget? Have you ever even heard of Dave Ramsey? Well, before we get into there, why don't we consider the 3 steps for financial freedom and remove you from the frustrations that are driving up the wall right now? Start with prayer. That's the first step. Have a conversation with God, and he can get you on the right track to make sure that you're doing things the right way. The second step would be looking into Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. Great stories of people who were in the same position as you were and how I used to be in the past. And they can show you that it does work. His plan does work, but you have to change your mindset and how you look at money. And then the third step is looking into Financial Peace University. This is what you take after reading Total Money Makeover. Trust me, this plan works. And I assure you, you will be living a lot better than you ever could before when you get a budget. Look into it now. Triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Battle for Freedom. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom and Mojo Fiverr Radio. You know, it's very interesting as we sit here covering this idea of revealing a royal flush, avoiding just a high card. Carolyn says the queen was like a prisoner. She was not able to come and go the way we do. She always had guards with her, never going anywhere without counseling by the staff, and only seeing people that lived in the palace. I'm sure that had to be a lonely life. You know what, actually, when you bring up that aspect of it, yeah, I guess it had to be very challenging there. You know, everyone pretty much limiting what she could do. I would love to have seen what it was like to be in the life of those people who were in the palace. The people who were honored. I mean, very good point. Very good point, Carolyn. And as we sit here and we listen and we consider that she probably had a lonely life, right? But I want to sit here and think about what it was like to be a servant, and not one who was begrudgingly serving the queen and working in the palace and serving, whether in the kitchen or a butler or whatever their role was, or taking care of the animals or whatever it was. I would love to interview the people who saw their role in serving Queen Elizabeth as the highest honor. We sit there and we consider the soldiers with the big fluffy black hats, and they stand proud, they stand guard, and there's so much reverence in that role of just standing there defending the queen, protecting the queen, standing duty. We are called to do so much in honoring Christ, living for him, living for the king, serving the king. I mean, seriously, not someone who was begrudgingly hating being in the palace, not someone who would even just look for the eager moment of being able to one day yet be able to shake hands or say hello or even be noticed by the queen. What would that have been like? I want to see that person. I want to interview that person. You know? that they would sit there and be so excited to see that person, because, as Jamie says, it's the highest honor above God, and that is what they and she and the rest of them thought that they were. Now, I don't personally know if Queen Elizabeth thought that she was above God, but I'm saying that the servant who was serving them, to see that, that there's sometimes earthly examples of what we have on earth is what we get to see for our heavenly example that we should do as well.